to you live from Tennessee, from the east to the west. We are talking Cowboys everything. And you just entered
the Cowboy Zone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Blood City Cowboys, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee.
And this is Lambo from Cowboys, y'all, out of Johnson City, Tennessee.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. We got Lambo 2 weeks in a row, so we're going to try to take advantage of him as long as we can while we got him here. I know he's still feeling a little bit under the weather, so he's just coming to grace us for a few minutes with his knowledge and let us know he's still doing a little bit better.
A little bit.
Yeah. So as we got people coming in, everybody join us. Thank you for joining. Make sure you get in the comments to let us know that you're there. Also, make sure you like and also make sure that you share this broadcast so that we can share all this good information to the rest of Cowboys Nation. We got our social media going at the bottom, so be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All right, Lambo, another Victory Wednesday for us.
Yeah, it's a good one, too.
What's up, Mendoza? Thank you for joining. So how'd you feel about that game?
I felt good about it. I know, I mean, you prefer – don't make me laugh, Charlie. My lungs hurting. I prefer to beat them at their full strength. That kind of sucks in a way because then you got to hear everybody say, oh, you beat a team full of backups and blah, blah, blah. Even though Glennon kind of looked better than Daniel Jones did anyways when he came in. But I felt great about it. We smacked him in the mouth. We played physical ball. I just love the attitude, especially of our defense. And I love what Zeke's doing right now, too.
Zeke and Pollard.
And Pollard, yeah, they're looking great.
Yeah.
They're looking really good. It's a very solid game. Randy Gregory's getting lots of pressures. I mean, It's beautiful. Anthony Brown's playing pretty solid.
He is.
Pretty solid.
About as much as you can expect for a number 2 corner that's getting targeted quite a bit.
Yeah.
Jack Mika, thank you for joining. Also, Shane Odom, thank you for joining. And Charlie, DCU, thank you for joining as well. And we got Eric in here also. So, interesting thing I noticed, we've been asking for that 60-40 split with the running backs. We got it this week. It was a 60-40 split between Zeke and Pollard. I believe both of them went over 100 yards. Pollard with his usual 5.5 yards rushing, just looking amazing with the limited snaps. And Zeke also with his usual physical style of running. He also averaged about 4.5 to 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So all around good running game. Talking about the play calling on offense, Kellen Moore came out and said we're not going to see the same game plan twice, and so far he's been proving that. What's up, Cooley? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. Another thing I like about the play calling, they go back to the plays that work. Far too often do we see them doing something that works, and then they throw one of those cute plays in that loses 8 yards, and then they try to dig themselves out of the hole. This game, Kellen Moore stuck to the game plan, took what they gave us, and kept doing it until they stopped it. Going back and rewatching the game, I noticed they ran a lot of 12 personnel where they put both tight ends on the same side, and then they will pull the guards or the guard and center and just open up an alley on the edge for the running backs. And I think I counted that play about 8 or 9 times, and every time it was if it wasn't the first down, it was close to it.
Yeah, Kellen Moore's on fire.
He is.
I've loved a lot of his play calling, including the little fake option, and then the pass to Zeke.
Yeah, that was a great play. That was a great play.
Yeah, that was great. And then the Cedric Wilson pass was pretty sick.
It was.
Could have been a touchdown easily, but I know he wants that one back.
Yeah, and the thing about that Zeke touchdown, you and I talked about that quite a bit during the offseason, how we want to see them do more 21 personnel.
Yeah.
And just that fear of Pollard on the jet sweep just opens up everything for Zeke. I remember there was a play that kind of went viral during the offseason where Pollard was standing here and he ran that jet sweep and Zeke came out of the backfield, was wide open. Pretty much the exact same situation on the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely some creativity being shown and it's being productive. All right, I see we got the comments going. Jack Meeker talking about the center position. Definitely something. That's about the only bad I saw in this game. I know I've been talking about it since the offseason. You too, Lambo.
I just tweeted Travis Frederick yesterday, and I said, "Please come out and get that ring. Give it one last ride."
Yeah. I've been concerned about the center position since day one. You see them showing social media tweets where they got 4 guys snapping the ball. That's not something you do week 5 of the season. That should have been taken care of in June or July. So the fact that you see them doing that now, to me, that's not reassuring. That's scaring me even more because you can't expect a guy like a Connor McGovern who hasn't played center since college to come in basically in the middle of the season and try to save you becoming your starting center.
Right.
You can't take Connor Williams, who's played guard or tackle his entire career, switch him to center week 7, week 8, and think he's going to be better than Tyler Biadasz. It's not going to happen. The best we can do is hope Biadasz continues to progress and hope that they can scheme a way so that teams putting their big nose tackles in front of him don't just terrify him like it's been doing. Because as a guy who played center, the only reason you snap the ball like that is because you got a big guy in front of you and you're terrified and you're trying to jump out of your stance too quick.
I'd love to see Lyle Collins and Martin on the outsides of Biadasz.
Okay.
That won't happen, but
well, we could talk about that because I believe it was Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan today. They talked about Terrence Steele and how well he's playing. And he made the comment in so many words saying, Terrence is looking so good.
Yeah.
He might not have to get that spot up when it's time.
I've seen that. And I was thinking about how good Collins was when we seen him at left guard when he was coming into the league.
Yeah, he should have been a Pro Bowler one of those years. Yeah, and thanks, Charlie. 21.4% of the time. That number keeps going up. It used to be maybe once a year, and now we're getting 4% in one game. Yeah, and William Coulter, we're talking about center. Yeah, we see why Connor was playing center in the preseason. And DJ Dog, he says the false start was everybody moved but him. It could have been that, or it could have been he didn't snap the ball when he was supposed to. Because it's more likely that everybody else moved when it was supposed to be snapped than him not snapping it. So it's just one of those things we got to deal with. And yeah, we do have some good depth. Again, the center position scares me.
Yeah.
That's not a position you can just come in and pick up because it's more than just snapping the ball. It's calling plays. It's dealing with combos, dealing with guys head up. It's really the only position on the line where you can literally be one-on-one with a guy. Because even at the guard position, guards can get help. When there's a guy head up on the center, it's kind of hard for you to help him. Yep. I agree with you, William. There's no way Zach doesn't go false start on that one. Eric Berger, great question. We'll probably be hearing this one in a couple weeks. How good is Lyle Collins at snapping the ball? We'll be seeing a 5-man line out there. Jack Meeker asked a good question. Are there any at all to be brought or on the trade block?
Joe Looney out there.
If the Giants would play ball, that's about it. Jack, offensive line is a very difficult position to find players. And if a team has a young, talented guy, they're not giving up on him, unless you overpay. It's going to be hard for us to find a talented center at this point in time.
Unless Travis Frederick magically decides,
Yeah,
which would be a beautiful thing right now.
Just like I talked about with Terrence Steele. We saw how awful Terrence Steele was last year. Look at how he's playing now. Young linemen take a while, and once the light comes on, you have a very solid player. And teams aren't going to give up on that very easily. And I say that to say, let's not give up on Tyler Biadasz, because the light can come on for him at any day.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to improve by taking him out. We just got to weather the storm.
Yeah, maybe he'll be the next Steele.
He could be the next Steele. The talent's definitely there.
Yeah, Bossman Fat was individual practices.
Yep.
Yeah. Probably won't see him for a while still, but
yeah.
Well,
now that he's off the IR list, the team has 21 days to activate him. So they may hold him out because our bye week is week 9, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And we're at week 6. So it'll more than likely be after the bye. So probably week 10, you'll see him. Week 9, he'll be kind of out there. So let's talk about a couple more positives on the offensive side. On the show last week, we had Justin Pennick, and he asked us about our number 2 tight end. I was looking at the stats. It looks like that position's pretty much been decided. I don't know if you realize this, Lambo.
Schultz is the man now. He's number 1.
Schultz played 75% of the snaps, and he was the only tight end with a stat. No other tight end got a catch in the game.
And he's well, I don't really dig PFF much anymore these days, but I know they had him as the highest graded tight end in the league right now, I believe.
Okay.
He was up there. I believe it was first, which don't surprise me. If he get more consistent with his hands, man, it would really be special. But I gotta apologize to Schultz, because the first couple of years on this team, I thought he was hot trash. I called him, man. I didn't think he should have even been on the team. I don't know how much negative stuff I said about him, but man, I love Dalton Schultz. I was way wrong. So
yeah, and Jeff, thank you for clarifying that. Bye week is week 7. So more than likely, you'll probably see him week 8, week 9. So he has a little bit of time to be out there. You never know, they may activate him this week just to get him 2 or 3 snaps, just to get him some reps. But more than likely, I think it's going to be after the bye week before we see him. DJ Dog, thank you for joining. He talks about 87 has used up his practice squad call-ups. Actually, DJ Dog, they can bring him up. The only catch is, instead of being able to take him back down to the practice squad, they would have to cut him. So if they decide to bring him back up, they can. It's just that when the game is over, they would have to cut him from the team and hope nobody else signs him to a contract. And says PFF grades are pure shit.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Meeker talks about loving the use of McGovern. They use him at fullback. They used him at tight end a little bit. I noticed this past game, they ran 2 tight, and McGovern was the tight end, so it was more of like a jumbo package. So they're making sure they see the talent, and they're taking good advantage of it as best they can.
Yeah, I've seen that, William. Quinn with the helmet on. Hands on, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Always good when your coach is out there in the trenches with the guys, kind of showing techniques and stuff. Good question by Charlie right here, Lambo. So, everybody's talking about Schultz. Schultz may be a top 5 free agent target in 2022. The dollar amount's going to be pretty high. I don't know who the highest paid tight end is right now. Probably Kelsey, if I had to guess. If the what's your limit? What's your cap on Schultz?
Man, to be honest, I need to look at those top 5 average tight end pay
right now.
Eric said McKeon is the same dude as Schultz. Very similar. I love Sean McKeon. I'll say that. I've been high on him for a while.
And we'll get to that because
He's
also off the injured reserve list. I'm trying to find the number one. I hate when you pull up these articles and they go top 10, they go from 10 to 1. Gotta scroll. Okay, so Travis Kelce's making 14.3. George Kittle's making 15. So I would put him between Hunter Henry and Travis Kelce. I don't think he would
11 to 12.
I don't think he would break the bank and be the highest paid, but I think top 5 money would be a good estimate. So that would put him, let's say, $12 million. Are you paying Schultz $12 million a year?
That's tough, man.
Because he's getting his money. So you either got to pay Schultz or keep Jarvan.
I don't even know right now.
That's a good offseason question.
I really like what Dalton Schultz brings after the catch as well.
Yeah.
And it just really depends. I mean, somebody said I can't remember who said it, but that does make the tight ends look great. Eric said it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You know, it'll help me decide on that when we see McKeon come back and see if he gets a little bit involved as the season progresses, and if we see a little bit of sparks out of him,
right?
It'll kind of let me know how I feel more about it. But man, there's a lot of people we're gonna be needing to try to retain.
So Jack Meeker asked a question about what's Jarvan making. Jarvan signed a 4-year, $22 million contract last year. This year, his cap hit is $4.5 million. Next year, his cap hit jumps to $6.25 million. And if we were to cut him, we would save $4 million.
That would make me feel a little bit better.
That's kind of where we are. So you would save 4 and then shell out 12 to keep Jarvan?
To keep Schultz? Possibly. I wouldn't be against it. I know a lot would, but I really do like Dalton Schultz.
Mendoza says you can let go of Jarvan. All his guarantees are paid. The only thing that's left with him is signing bonus, which is his signing bonus was $4 million, Mendoza. So you got $2 million left with that, and then you got a $6 million cap hit next year. Good question, Andre Onulak. I've seen the name before, but thank you for joining. Make sure you like, make sure you share.
I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Gregory or Schultz. Hey, Greg, I'm gonna go Gregory.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Gregory. Pass rush specialist is just too important.
I would go Gregory too, only because I think his contract is gonna be extremely cheap.
Here's another thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people still would like to see Gallup possibly stick around. There's no way they're gonna pay Schultz and Gallup.
Yeah, and Jeff says we won't have Gallup anyway, and I'm in agreement with you, Jeff. I don't think he's here next year, no matter what.
Yeah, Cedric look too. Is Cedric still got another year left?
Cedric who? Wilson. If I'm not mistaken, I think Cedric Wilson's in the last year of his rookie deal. But I mean, his contract is going to be real cheap.
Yeah, it'll be very fair.
I think
3 years.
Cowboys fans get caught up in the he's our player, so he's the best thing in the world. Our number 3, number 4 receivers never get paid when they leave here. Our number 2 receivers don't get paid when they leave here. I would be shocked if Cedric Wilson's contract was more than $4 million a year next year.
Yeah.
I would be shocked. And I'm leaning towards 2.5.
I was gonna say I could see something like a 3-year, $15 million type deal.
And that would be generous in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because no matter what, Cedric Wilson's our number 3. You don't pay your number 3 $5 million a year. Unless he's a borderline Pro Bowler, best slot in the game type guy. All right, I see the show jumped into a lot of who's gone next year. So, guys, We appreciate all the feedback you guys give. Keep bringing the great comments. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. Charlie says edge over tight end every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Definitely agree.
I don't think D-Law is gone next year, Will.
Okay. So William says D-Law is gone. You don't think so?
I don't know, man. He's still a great player.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. What we do save a lot if he's gone next year, I believe.
I think we save like 19 if we let him go next year.
I guess that'll depend on how Randy finishes this season out and how the young guys.
I think it would depend more on Ghostin than Randy.
Or Golston on his side. Yeah.
And I'll say this about Randy. I know we love Randy. I know he's a fan favorite. The reality is Randy Gregory will be a 30-year-old defensive end with 2 full years of NFL experience and no season with double-digit sacks. Those guys don't break the bank when it comes to free offseason and free agency.
The good thing is Golston brings a lot of what D-Law brings in the run game, stopping the run.
Exactly. And that's why I say Golston may be the guy who decides what happens with D-Law, because I was looking at the snap counts. Golston was our number 3 in snap counts this past week. That's ridiculous for a guy with no offseason playing a very taxing position. And by the way, playing all over the field, because Golston plays right defensive end, left defensive end, 3 tech. He stands up at outside linebacker, stuff that I've been begging for them to do with D-Law, but they won't do it. So yeah, we do have a lot of guys who will be gone next year. We got a lot of tough decisions.
Yeah.
The offseason chatter should be lit, because we have a list of probably, off the top of my head, 12 guys who are legitimate contributors on this team who are going to be unrestricted free agents. And I don't think we're using the franchise tag next year. Do you, Lambo? Unless, let me look at the franchise tag for a tight end. If the franchise tag for a tight end is under $10 million,
in that case, they make sense.
Yeah. Let's see what it is this year. Tight end franchise tag is $9.6 million.
I would use that.
So, yeah, if there's any chance of us using a franchise tag, it's going to be on Dalton Schultz. Everybody else is just walking.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And the transition tag is $8 million, which basically means if someone offers him a contract, we just have the right to match it. So they may use that one too. But all of this is off-season talk, because we got a lot of stuff to go through with that. Let me hear on a couple more things about the Giants game, Lambo. If you can give me 10 to 15 more minutes, so I can get your thoughts on this upcoming Patriots game. So we talk about the defensive side, and we didn't get any sacks this game, but we probably had 4 guys that had at least 3 pressures. D-Law was bringing the heat. Osa, Micah.
D-Law.
Did I say D-Law?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant Gregory. My fault. I keep seeing D-Law pop up in the comments.
I know.
Like the last 4 comments have D-Law in them, so they kind of caught my eye.
Yeah, Osa's been impressive as anything.
Yes. Those guys really been bringing it. So, what did you think about the defense as a whole, even though they didn't get any sacks in the front 7?
I feel like the pressure was just as important. I mean, it's unfortunate the sacks weren't there, but I still felt pretty okay with it. I mean, it's a lot of these younger guys are getting a lot of pressures, and they're only going to get better with time.
Yeah.
And they're going to grow as a unit. You know, the more snaps they get throughout the year, more playing time. But so I still feel good about it. I feel good about it. And the pressures were there.
Yeah. Mark Cantor saying we may go linebacker again next year. Let me say this. Let me give my little bit of draft analysis in October. This is not the linebacker draft we had last year. Like the guys that we talked about, Joker and Micah and Baron Browning, There aren't any guys like that in this draft, except maybe one of the kids from Georgia. This draft is going to be a very good safety draft, which is going to work out in our favor. Even if we pick late in the first, I think we can still get a quality safety. This is going to be a pretty good D tackle class, nose tackle in particular. So if we decide we want to get us a guy that's 310, 320 that can anchor at the nose tackle, there are going to be about 4 or 5 guys that I really like out there. And I'm trying to think of what other position of need for us. As of right now, free safeties and nose tackles have really been standing out as compared to last year. There are always going to be corners and receivers because that's just the nature of the game. But this safety class and this D tackle class, and it's a couple of good defensive ends as well that I think will probably fall and give us some good help.
Yeah.
Shane Oda says it's too early talking next year. It's you could talk draft anytime, Shane. It's always draft season or scouting season. And yeah, I'm sorry, Lambo. What comment you just put up?
Oh, I was laughing. Trying not to laugh at Charlie because my lung. The reason I'm standing awkwardly this entire time is because I still got the pneumonia in my lung, and it feels better to stand than it does sitting right now. So, sorry, I probably do look a lot awkward standing up here looking down at the camera. Just to clear that up.
Yeah, Shane asked we're picking at 32. We'll get into that one as the season gets on, Shane. Definitely. We'll focus on the back end of the first round for sure. The way things are looking right now. So talking about that front seven, they look really good. So Lambo, Micah played 97% of the snaps again, and he played almost exclusively at linebacker.
Led the team in tackles.
I think he had 4 pressures. I know people keep saying let's try him at end. What do you think? Should we keep him at that linebacker or put him back at the end a little bit more?
Man, I'm torn. Because he's behind only what's his name from the Ravens? Owe.
Yeah, Jason Owe.
He's behind only him in pressures.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can only imagine if he was being a full-time pass rusher, the amount of pressures he'd have right now. It's very effective.
Yeah.
But man, his sideline to sideline speed and stuff in the run has been great. Man, I don't know. I'd like to see him continue to do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Really.
I just think, for me personally, he looks so good rushing from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looks great from the outside too. I don't want to take that from him. But Gregory, very talented pass rusher on the edge. Golston's still learning, but he's looking very well. And then you got Osa. Osa played a lot of defensive end in this game, also in pass rushing situations, which I found interesting. So we got guys on the edge. I feel like the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So if you want to take advantage of him at his best, you let him go straight ahead. No center can block him.
No, he's
coming off
back.
of a snap. You come off a snap, you got to try to find a guy that runs a 4-3 and put your hands on him. That's very tough. You can scheme around guys at the end position. You can use the running back to chip them. You can use the tight ends. You can shift the line that way. It's kind of hard to shift from the middle of the field because then you're leaving the edges open. And those guys are very untalented. And good point, Charlie. You do both. Don't let them know where he's coming from, but I wouldn't just relegate him to like full-time defensive end. And William Coulter says needs to rotate more from linebacker to end to confuse the defense. I agree. The only issue I have with that is we could talk about it because we're sitting at home on our couches watching. It is difficult when you are you're playing on the line of scrimmage, and I'm just imagining being him, and you're going against a guy who outweighs you by 100 pounds. and you have to basically try to bench press and squat for 30 plays a game. That's hard to do. I know us as fans say, oh, he could just run right by him. Every play at a defensive end, you're getting hit. And those hits take a lot of wear and tear on a guy who's not used to it. That's why I like him a little bit more at linebacker.
That's true.
At linebacker, I know we hate this. I don't want to say it this way, but at linebacker, you get to take a couple plays off. Sometimes you can just stand in the middle of the field and kind of scan, or you can just cover a guy for a 2-second route. At defensive end, you're always taking a penalty. Milton Zen Bonura. I know that's a new name, so thank you for joining us.
I seen those today. Those next gen stats.
As next gen stats, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys have been on it in terms of pressure.
Yeah, we nailed it with this draft. At least, hopefully, we nailed it with that going boss man. We'll see.
Yeah. Shane Odom asked, "Do you think we'll see Gallimore by Thanksgiving?" I would be shocked if we don't see him by Thanksgiving. That's more than a month away. So I would say yes to that. Jack Meeker asked the question, will they set Osa and Neville side by side? Personally, I've always thought Neville was a better nose tackle than three tech. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them play Neville more at the 1. And I really wouldn't be shocked to see Neville play more 3 and watch Osa play more base end. So that's something else you can look for when Gallimore gets back. And I see Milton put his Facebook group in there. Milton, I'll definitely check that out. So thank you for putting that up there. And make sure to send me a DM later on so I can have that. And I'll go and find your page and share it. And William says just because he plays in, he doesn't have to rush every time. That's true. But more likely than not, if you have a guy that's playing on the line, he's going to be coming forward more than backwards. Because then you have to replace him with another guy who plays linebacker, and then it's kind of the same thing all over again. Andre asked, where does Tristan Hill fit in the rotation?
Not anywhere.
Right.
Not he'll probably be pretty limited on snaps when he gets back.
I'm trying to figure out who they're gonna let go of to make room for him. It has to be Bohanna, maybe.
Probably.
I mean, Bohanna's probably playing the least amount of snaps of any defensive lineman. So if they have to make room for Tristan, that's probably the first place they're going. Or they could give him an injury settlement, like Geechee says. Geechee, thank you for joining. They could get the week 10 and say, you know what? Maybe the heel experiment is over. Here's your money. Go play somewhere else. Or they could just try to do a red shirt year on him and put him on IR for the rest of the year. Yeah, Milton, he has to be out at least 6 weeks, and then the team has 21 days to activate him. So that's what I'm saying, week 10. If they take full advantage of all the rules, it could be week 10 before they make a decision on what to do with him. And Charlie says he has the guys moving up and down the line. I agree. I think he plays 1 and 3. I think you see Osa play more end also. You see Golston playing stand-up linebacker. You're going to see a lot when these guys come back. And then when you bring in Tate, that just brings in another element. So we got a lot of moving parts. All right, so before we move on to this week's game, Lambo, we got to talk about this. Our secondary. And Trayvon Diggs with what could have easily been 3 interceptions in this game.
Yeah, it could have.
He had the one catch where he was out of bounds, and then he had the one play on the drag route where he just took it from the receiver's hands, and at the last second, the receiver knocked it out of his, and then he had the big pick where he basically goaded the quarterback into throwing it. What did you think about Diggs' performance this week?
Just Diggs being Diggs, baiting people, man. He's becoming a master at it. He's become really good at it. Just like on that post route, a little bit of that prime time stuff, kind of lay off, let him feel like he's got it, and then just use that closing speed to get in there. I like it. He's mastered it quick. So someone said earlier they think he's going to continue that streak this week, and I kind of have a weird feeling he's going to too.
I agree.
Mac Jones, I could easily see him tossing one up.
I believe the Patriots, if they're not leading the league, they're number 2 in the league in giveaways. So that's something to definitely be aware of. There's definitely a game that could happen in. And they don't have a lot of talented receivers, so they have to throw it at some point. All right, guys. So that's pretty much all we got on the Giants. There was really not a lot to talk about. To me, that was just an overall great win. The team started off slow, but it's a division game.
Yeah,
you can't expect to just blow guys out of the water. They started slow. When it was time for the best team to show up, the best team showed up. So I just pretty much take it at that.
Mm-hmm.
If this was a team like whoever, some other bad team that doesn't play us 2 times a year, I would have been concerned. But the Giants know us very well. I mean, their coach is our former coach. So how much more can a team know another team?
Yeah. The division games are always going to be tough, even if people are hurt.
Yep, definitely. And all right, Lambo. So let's go ahead and move forward to New England, so we can talk about this game. And let's start it off, and we'll talk about a couple of storylines. I think we pretty much hit all of them so far. But let's go ahead and hit you guys with these major storylines for this week's game.
Storylines.
So, and I know you got to go in 5 minutes, Lambo, so I'll make this quick. The only storylines I see, for one, we got Boss Man Fat is off the IR list, so he's on the return list. The team has 21 days to bring him back. He was kind of working on the sidelines today, so that's a good sign. And let me just ask this question, and we can, if the comments lead us there, we'll go into it more. When he comes back, whether it's this week, week 8, whatever, how many snaps do you think he starts off with?
I don't even know what would be the snap count, but I definitely know that he can jump right in there.
The lunatic come with the eye for detail, saying that's the NCAA football on the storyline graphic. So, do you think Boss Man Fat comes in like Ghostin? Like Ghostin came in first week, 40% of the snaps.
I really don't.
Okay.
As much as I like him, just the inexperience and the amount of, I mean, he hasn't played a lot of games since from college to now.
Yeah.
And Anthony Brown's been playing solid enough that I don't think they're just gonna pull him immediately. I think they're gonna make Boss Man earn it and kind of just ease him in. I don't think we'll see him a whole ton his first 2 weeks.
Okay.
But as the season progresses, I do see him eventually taking over that starter role.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a pretty quiet week in Cowboys news. Just really a lot of game recaps. I guess that's a good thing. When you're winning, I guess winning solves all problems, or winning takes away all distractions. So not a lot of storylines to cover with this team right now.
Which is rare.
One more. Donovan Wilson. He may be eligible to come back this week. What do you do with him? Does he get a starting spot back, or has it been Wally pipped?
I've seen a lot of people chattering about that on Twitter today. There's been a lot of Curse versus Wilson people. And it seems pretty split among a lot of people. But I don't know, man. You find a way to keep getting Curse some snaps, because I feel like he's been doing a great job.
Yep.
I hadn't forgot about Donovan Wilson, though. I feel like he can be a playmaker, especially with the way the defense is playing as a whole and the pressures we're starting to develop, and I think it's going to help Wilson improve as well. Man, it's going to be interesting to see. I think Wilson will get his. I think he will possibly take the job back. I know he's Charlie says Kirsch taking the job. I don't know, man. I can see them doing a little bit of a split.
Okay. Now, I know you got to go, Lambo, and thank you for giving us as much time as you could. Before you go, just give us your recap. Give us what you think about this game, and give us a game prediction.
Well, I don't think the Patriots offense is someone that's going to light the board up on us. Mac is very there's nobody that I'm really scared of on this team in general, period. I think, honestly, it's going to be another one of those games where I believe we have a decent amount of runs. I think we run the ball more than we pass it. Just control the clock, run the ball, win the turnover margin, and I feel like we're going to come out with a 17-point win.
Okay. Are we putting them away early? Or are we pulling off late?
We are late. Pulling it off late. Okay. Pulling it off late. I just don't trust the young quarterback.
I agree.
I know he hasn't. He's been, like Mendoza said, he's been efficient, but
yeah,
I it's just a good thing. But I feel like he's gonna have one of those games you see rookie quarterbacks have where you go, "Ooh, welcome to the NFL, rookie."
I
just have a weird feeling about it.
All right. So before you go, who I think was Jack Meeker wanted to get your thoughts. It's not Cowboy related. I just saw that question related to Gruden. I can't find it right now, but he asked, what are your thoughts? Shane Odom asked, before you go, what are your thoughts on John Gruden?
Oh, that's a lot of controversy. I'm thankful that it's not the Cowboys.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because people in every continent of the world would be talking about it. If it's the Cowboys. It's very controversial, so I won't go deep into it. But like my local guy and former Cowboy, Gerald Sensabaugh, said today, in the football locker rooms, in the football world, you hear people say a lot of crazy stuff. And a lot of the times it's just spouting at the mouth, dirty mouths, joking people, clowning on people, saying very vulgar stuff. I feel like it's a very controversial thing. I feel like it might be a little overblown. I feel like the Raiders kind of wanted him out of there, and that was a great way for him to get him gone, to avoid all that and kind of get it out of the way. But I feel like a lot of stuff that I feel like a lot of people, man, I don't know.
Yeah,
there's some stuff that's, I mean, it's not making it any. It's not a good thing. It's a lot of the stuff he said. At the same time, a lot of that stuff you'll hear in a football locker room.
Right.
A lot of the, I guess you could say, homophobic type comments. A lot of guys will use those slurs and stuff and not mean it that way. They mean it more so like just bullshitting around, I guess you could say, with the guys kind of thing. But, I mean, we'll see. I think there's a lot more stuff coming out, too, dealing with other people. I think it was Adam Schefter. There was some controversy. Was it Adam Schefter? I can't remember. There's somebody. It wasn't related to comments, but it was related to him getting inside info by doing quid pro quos with people and things.
Yeah,
and I think there's gonna be a lot more coming out from all them watching the emails, man. I don't know. But is what it is.
All right. Well, Lambo, I don't want to hold you up any longer. So before you go, let the people know where they can find you at.
Basically, just at Cowboys Y'all on everything, man. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Sorry I've been sick so much, trying to get over this pneumonia in my lung. And but I appreciate y'all, and sorry I couldn't stick around a little bit longer.
All right, Lambo, thank you for joining, man. I hope you start to feel better, and just keep taking care of yourself and keeping us up to date with what's going on with your progress.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, thanks, y'all.
All right, man. See you, Lambo.
See you, man.
All right, so guys, hopefully you stick around and rock with me for about another 20, 30 minutes or so as we talk about this upcoming game with the New England Patriots. I see the comments are still coming in, the views are still kind of steady. So all you guys who are here, thank you for all your support. So now let's talk about some of the key matchups that we got in this game, because we got quite a few interesting matchups with this, I believe, 2 and 3 team. So let's get into it.
Key matchups.
All right, so the first key matchup we got to talk about is the most obvious one. We got the young pup offensive coordinator, the new hot shot in town, and Kellen Moore versus the old wily veteran godfather of coordinating and Bill Belichick. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup between those two guys. Kellen's already kind of come out and talked about, you're not going to see the same game plan from me twice. I think Bill's going to put that to the test, because no matter how our offense looks, if there's anybody who can exploit weaknesses of a team, it's going to be Bill Belichick. I believe the Patriots are top 5 in defense, and you could take that for however you want to, because the Panthers were number 1 when we beat them. But our offense is number 1. Things are rolling smoothly. Bill Belichick had a very long answer today about our team. And if you guys heard it, it's 3 minutes of dry Bill Belichick talk. But basically, he says this team is loaded. They got a lot of options, and we got to try to figure out a way to shut them down. And good luck with that. Hopefully, Kellen Moore does what he's been doing and taking what the defense gives him. Yeah, William, he definitely had high praises for Dallas in his press conference today. One thing that stands out to me about the way the Patriots play defense, they play a lot of man and they play a lot of man free. So they rely heavily on their corners to stick with their with the other team's receivers. And they have their wily veteran and Devin McCourty playing free safety, and they either let him come down and cover, or they just let him kind of freelance and find the spots where he needs to play it. So the second key matchup is going to be our receiver group versus their secondary. In particular, you got to come up with J.C. Jackson, who is arguably a top 5 defensive back right now. He's probably going to be shadowing Lamb. So that's definitely going to be a matchup to pay attention to. J.C. Jackson is very good, so I don't want to take anything away from him. It's going to be a long day for CeeDee Lamb if that's who's going against him. But then you look on the other side, and you got the Green Goblin in Jalen Mills, a name we all know from Philadelphia. They've moved him back to corner with New England, and he's more than likely going to be matched up with Amari Cooper. So for all you fantasy football guys, if you have a chance to get Amari Cooper on your team, I think there's a pretty good shot that you may want to pick him up for fantasy purposes this week. So definitely got to pay attention to that matchup with the secondary. They also have a guy named Jonathan Joseph, kind of a journeyman guy. Jalen Mills has been kind of hurt, so if he doesn't play, then I'm sorry, I think it's Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones will kind of step out and be your number 2 cornerback, kind of following Amari Cooper. And Milton says if they run man coverage, Dak will bust them to tight ends and slot CD Lamb. Cover 2, Zeke will ball. Just going back and looking at their games, because I've watched all the games they played so far, they run a lot of man. I mean, it has to be at least 55%, 60% man. So unless they change things up, I don't expect to see a lot of cover 2 this week. I expect them to kind of stick to their guns and what they do best. And the Lunatic, yeah. If that's the matchup, it's a big advantage for the Cowboys. And Charlie, I'll get to that on the flip side when I talk about the offensive key matchups. And DJ Dog, I see your comment as well, talking about what they're going to do on offense. Franco says, where you get all your info from? Honestly, I just really watch the games. And if you go on the NFL website, you can pull up stat sheets from every game where it give you a breakdown by quarter, by position, snap count, stuff like that. But stuff like knowing how much they play man, that's just something I noticed observing, watching all the games. I can go and pull the stats and see how much they play man, but I'm a big eye test guy when it comes to certain things. I know people can tell you what it is, but I just like to see it for myself when it comes to stuff like that. And let's talk more about our offense versus their defense. And I see you guys are kind of hitting on my next one, which is whoever they line up over Tyler Biadasz and Connor Williams. So that matchup will actually be a name that a lot of Cowboy fans are familiar with, and that is Christian Barmore, their first-round pick out of Alabama. And Mendoza also points out Gottschall. I hope I pronounce his name right. I think they got him from Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken. Another big athletic defensive tackle. These guys don't put up a lot of stats, but they're big and they're very quick off the snap. So you're going to see them lined up quite a bit, head up on Biadasz to try to take advantage of those matchups. So hopefully the team kind of finds a way to help those guys out a little bit. In terms of the defensive line, whoever's on the center is probably the only one I'm really concerned about, because their defensive line leaves a lot to be desired, even when they switch from 4-3 or 3-4. Okay, Mendoza, you got to tell me who Joejuan Williams is. I think you purposely just try to put a name up there every week to stump me, because I've never heard of that guy. And the Lunatic, good question. Do I think New England may want us to run and try to force long drive where penalties play a factor? You will actually. New England's been one of the most penalized teams in the league this year, so that could work more in our favor than it can in theirs. I don't think they're gonna go away from what they do, because the best way to kill a team is just running it on them. I think Belichick is gonna more likely try to cause some confusion and generate pressure to try to get us to force turnovers, because player for player, I think it's pretty obvious to everybody we have them outmatched on both sides of the ball. So I think this is going to be one of those games where we talk about how great Dak has looked being the field general and how great Kellen Moore has been as a play caller. I think those guys really get tested this week. Ken Joyner, thank you for joining. I do have a prediction. We're going to get to that right after do all the key matchups. So stick with us for another 20 minutes or so. And I'll give my game prediction, and I'll get you guys game predictions as well. Just going through the comments. They do have Lawrence Guy also. Charlie says, not saying Biadasz needs to improve, but we face some good DTs, still putting up 30. Great point. He's been a weakness. And I said this on the show last week. If we have that weakness and we're still putting up 30 points a game, we need 5 more weaknesses like that, because no matter how bad it looks to the fans, who I say this all the time. The hard part about being a Cowboys fan is we see everything. So we don't have any real perspective outside the league, outside the rest of the league, and we don't have realistic expectations on this team. Biotis is the weak link, but that's not saying he's a bad player. So we just have to weather the storm, hope he gets better, and continue to improve. But Milton talks about over the center after last week's snaps is a concern. I talked about this earlier in the show. The reason centers have bad snaps is because they're terrified of nose tackles right in front of them. As a guy who played center before, that's the only thing that made me have a bad snap. All right, so let me keep going through these comments. He says New England averages about 6 penalties a game, about middle of the pack. Actually, they averaged a lot more the first 3 or 4 games, and I think the last 2 games they've really cleaned it up, and that kind of made the average drop. And Eric Berger, great question, great comment. Any criticism of any player coach is nitpicking at this point. I agree. It's our job as podcasters and analysts to kind of give our positions on who's looking good, who's not looking so good. But at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are playing well. They're winning games. So we can't – it's one thing to criticize. It's another thing to say, okay, this guy's awful. We need to get rid of him. Those are 2 different spectrums. And I don't think we should necessarily try to get rid of a guy, but we do have to point out that their play is not up to par. All right, and DJ Dog says expect the unexpected. I guess that's a key matchup between us and the powers that be, whether it be the refs, technology, whatever. Milton says, yeah, we have more talent by far. 30-13 if we start slow, 30-10 if we start fast. You're right, Charlie. Not all podcasters do that, but that's a conversation for another day. So now, back to the key matchups. We talk about the defensive line, and I say they run a lot of man, and the only key matchup on the defensive line is whoever's lined up on Biotis. The real key matchup is our offensive line with their linebackers. Looking at New England and how they play, this is where Bill Belichick's genius comes in. He has 4 very talented veteran linebackers. He has Jamie Collins, who just came back to the team. He has Kyle Van Noy. He also has Matt Judon, who's been killing it so far this year, 6.5 sacks. And then he also has Chase Winovich, and he has the big kid out of Alabama whose name I always forget when I need to know when I'm talking Patriots football. And guys in the comments, let me know who I'm thinking about. The big linebacker, plays for the Patriots, former Alabama player. But they have Hightower. Thank you, Milton. Yeah. So they have 5 very talented linebackers: Hightower, Collins, Van Noy, Judon, and Winovich. And they play these guys everywhere. So one series, you may see them run a 2-5 defense. They switch 4-3, 3-4. All the linebackers play in. They play outside linebacker, middle linebacker. They blitz them from everywhere. So our communication needs to really be up to par this week with our offensive line, because they have a lot of talent and experience at that linebacker position. And thanks to Lunatic for watching. I always appreciate your support, and we'll definitely link up with you again in the future. So yeah, they line these guys up everywhere. They generate pressure from everywhere. It's going to be interesting. And the biggest one that we have to look for is Matt Judon versus Tyron Smith. Matt Judon has 6.5 sacks so far this year. He's been tearing it up on that right side. Tyron Smith's been looking as good as he's looked the past 5 years. But Matt Judon's really been bringing it. And all those other guys kind of follow his lead based off of what the formations are and what they do. And I forgot they do also have Ronnie Perkins and Josh Uche. I know who both of them are, Mendoza. You didn't get me with those names. They don't really use them a lot, though, especially since they brought Jamie Collins back last week. Jamie Collins came back. He probably played 60% of the snaps, and they played him everywhere. Those young guys don't have a chance touching the field. And yeah, DJ Dog, I talked about that before. They do have Christian Barmore on the defensive line. What I've seen from him is he does have a quick takeoff. He hasn't made a lot of plays. They've pretty much been using him as a disruptor who they just bring in the game, put him in front of the guy, and just tell him to just bull rush. It hasn't really helped him out so far, but in a game like this, putting him in front of Tyler Biadasz, it could cause some problems. And we talk about our running backs. Also, we talk about these linebackers and how important the run game is going to be. Because when you're lining up linebackers versus offensive linemen, that could be an issue in the pass game, but that's advantage Cowboys when it comes to the run game. And somebody brought the comment up before about, do we think the Patriots may want us to run the ball more to make drives longer? I don't think running the ball is going to make drives longer, honestly, because, like I said, they play a lot of man defense. And when you play man defense, what that means is if you get past that first level, there's not a lot to stop you in that second level. So I think this is going to be one of those games where those runs that we've been having that turned into 7, 8, 9-yard runs, I think those runs become 15-yard runs this week if we have that type of run game that we had before. All right, guys. So we're at 1 hour, 3 minutes. Thank you guys who've been continuing to rock with us. We're gonna do over under this week. I haven't done it for 2 weeks because the show's been running long with all the great guests that we've had. So this week we're definitely gonna do over under. So guys, make sure you stick with us because I would love to get your feedback on some of these over under stats that I have. All right, so now let's go to our defensive side versus their offense. And DJ Dog, 100%. This is their game plan. They're gonna run blitz us with those linebackers, try to shut us down early, and get us behind the sticks. What I say to that is, we're gonna break because if the run blitz doesn't get there, it's gonna be a lot of open field. And Pollard has shown what he can do with open field, and Zeke hasn't lost that many steps to break away either. My name is Marcus D. Jones on Facebook, or you can find me at Bluff City Cowboys. So going to our defensive side now, and Mendoza asked the first question, key matchups. Trayvon Diggs has arguably, I won't even say arguably, he's been the best corner in the league so far this year. And the Patriots don't have a lot of talent at the receiver position. They got the big kid N'Keal Harry from last year. He's been playing sparingly so far. He's a 6'5" kid, athletic. They may try to dust him off for this game just because last year he had a couple of good catches on us. Jakobi Meyers is really their only legitimate receiver threat. So if I had to guess, I would probably say they put Trayvon Diggs on Jakobi Meyers. So that leaves Anthony Brown covering Nelson Aguilar, a kid who's we're very familiar with from his time with the Eagles. I love a game like this when you get to play against the guy you're used to. So that should be a good game for Anthony Brown. Not a lot of new stuff he's going to see from a kid like Aguilar because he knows him so well. I don't even know who that slot guy is, honestly. I have no clue who New England slot guy is. So that doesn't concern me. And Mendoza and Eric both talk about my next key matchup because the real matchup isn't on the outside. It's on the inside outside with those tight ends. The Patriots spent a lot of money at the tight end position. They got Hunter Henry from the Chargers. They got Jonnu Smith from the Titans. Thank you, Mendoza. It is Kendrick Bourne, guy they signed as a free agent from the Niners, I believe. So they got the tight ends. You know, Bill Belichick loves too tight. These guys haven't really had a lot of chemistry because they've been hurt quite a bit. But I would say our next key matchup is Jaron Kearse versus whichever tight end you put him against. More than likely to be Hunter Henry because that's the guy they kind of keep in line. Jonnu Smith's the guy they kind of put out wide in the slot a lot. So yeah, one thing I've noticed about the Cowboys, and again, like Eric said, this is nitpicking. The defenses look good, but there have been a lot of communication problems that I noticed on the inside, particularly when it comes to the tight end position, whenever Kearse isn't kind of playing a guy man-to-man. So I'm sure Belichick has noticed that as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of too tight. I think we're going to see a lot of tight end movements and shifts to see if our defense can adjust and make the right moves. So I think the tight ends are going to be very important to the Patriots' success in this game. And Eric Berger talks about bringing heavy pass rush up the middle, of course. So that takes us to our next key matchup. That is our front seven versus the Patriots' offensive line. Now, this one should be good because the Patriots have 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen out right now. 2 guys are injured. 2 guys are still on the COVID list. According to reports, it doesn't look like they're going to be back this week either. So the only offensive lineman they have coming back is going to be their center. All the other guys are going to be backups. So fire up Randy Gregory, fire up Micah Parsons, fire up Osa Odigizua, bring some blitzes, cause some confusion. There should be some chances. Now, the offensive line last week didn't give up any sacks for the Patriots, but they did play Houston. So there's not a lot there to be afraid of. So it's going to be interesting to see how their 4 backup offensive linemen hold up to what has turned into the pressure cookers on our front seven. And I did just coin pressure cookers for everybody out there. So if you hear anybody else say pressure cookers, you know they got it from the Cowboy Zone. All right, so we'll get the over-under in a second here, Burger. So be sure to hold those comments. All right, so we talked about offensive line. We talked about secondary. We talked about tight ends. At the running back position, Charlie just talked about it. They run 24% of the time, below league averaging success rate. Harris looks like he's hurt, so he might not be playing. They got Brandon Bowden. They got Ramon Stevens, who's a rookie. Not a lot to be afraid of in terms of the run game. And plus, They got 4 offensive linemen missing. So I don't even consider the running game as a key matchup. I think they're going to try to beat us with tight ends on offense and generating pressure on defense. Now, another key matchup we need to worry about, and thank you, Eric, took the words right out of my mouth. I don't think Shaq Mason's going to be able to play this week, though, Mendoza. But we'll see. Yeah, Milton, I am in Memphis. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. So another key matchup, the last key matchup, and then we'll move on to over-under, is special teams. So we got Bones Fossil. The Patriots have historically had one of the best special teams in the league. They've got arguably one of the best special teamers of all time, and Slater still playing. So that guy he wreaks havoc on special teams. And speaking of special teams, of course, just me being the special teams guy coined that. I noticed that every week, CJ Goodwin's special team snaps continue to go down. He's historically been a 70 to 80% special teams guy. He started off this year at 70%, and every week it's gone down. This past week, he played like 55% special teams. So, as much as we love CJ Goodwin, if those special teams numbers keep going down, and we got to make room for Boss Man Fat or DeMonte KZ or not Randy Gregory or DeMarcus Lawrence, we've been talking about the front seven, maybe the spot that they take a position from. Don't be surprised to see our special teams ace possibly get the boot if our special teams continues to play well and his snaps continue to drop, because Jabril Cox and Luke Gifford have been playing a ton of special teams, and then Malik Turner just came back as well. So it's going to be some tough cuts made, and that secondary room is pretty deep. So you would have to expect that a cut would possibly come from there. So don't be surprised if it's CJ Goodwin. And I know a lot of fans are going to hate to hear that, but got to read the tea leaves on this stuff. If a guy only plays special teams and his snaps continue to drop, that's not a good thing unless he's playing more defense, which he isn't. Yeah. You want him cut and stay cut? And Eric says, I'm worried the players are going to get in the Steve Belichick stash. Yeah, the Oklahoma running back, Ramon Stevenson or Ramon Stevens. Yeah, Ramon Stevenson. Yeah, he did look really good. He's a big bruiser too. And Milton, thank you. Also, make sure you subscribe on Facebook. On YouTube as well. Bluff City Cowboys. Definitely appreciate your support. You bring some great comments, so be sure to come back and join us. And I see you have a podcast too. Hopefully, we can get you on the show at some point this year. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for key matchups. I see the viewers are still kind of steady. So let's go ahead and move to over under. And we'll get you guys to be a little bit more involved in the flow of the show.
Over under.
All right, guys. So this is one of my favorite segments of the show. For you guys who are new to the show, we like to do something called over under. And Franco Geekin, thank you for sharing, man. Appreciate your support always. And we talk about, and Mendoza talks about, they have J.J. Taylor and Brandon Bolden behind Harris. Those guys are basically just scat back type guys. They're just the third down catchers. Neither one of them are a threat running the ball. They could be a threat out of the backfield, but neither one of them are James White. They're just the only running backs who can catch the ball. Stevenson can't catch. Harris can't catch. They're pretty much just default third down backs. Nothing special. All right, guys. So over under for you guys that are new to the show. I'll throw out a stat and I'll give a line, and you guys tell me whether or not the team goes over or under that stat. So we'll start off with our defense, and we'll go straight to the guy, Trayvon Diggs, getting turnovers every week. We've got Mac Jones playing against them. Mac Jones been super efficient, 71% completion percentage. But the Patriots are one of the top teams in giveaways. So over under 0.5 turnovers for Trayvon Diggs. Not interceptions, turnovers. Over under 0.5 turnovers for Trayvon Diggs. Does he get a turnover this week or not, basically? I'm leaning towards yes. I'm leaning over on this one. I think the streak continues. Their offense is just so depleted. They can't not throw at him. All right, I see the comments. Everybody saying over. Jack says over easy. Okay. Eric Berger says no way Bill doesn't tell Mac to throw away from him under. That's a good point. I don't think Mac Jones is going to listen. I'm pretty sure when Daniel Jones went out of the game last week, Jason Garrett said don't throw at Trayvon Diggs. And then Diggs gave the guy the bait, made him look open, and baited him into throwing it. I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen again this week. They don't have any speed demons. So I could see Trayvon Diggs trying to throw some bait out there to get some throws this way. Yeah, great point, Mendoza. If they're down, he may not have a choice. You got to get it to whoever your playmakers are. And if you got Diggs on your best playmaker, sometimes you just got to take that chance. All right, guys. So we talked about Trayvon Diggs, and I said this is one of the top teams in giveaways. Over under 1.5 turnovers for the defense in general. And Charlie, thank you for joining. I'm free this weekend. My schedule's finally cleared up, so I will definitely be on Keep It With the Joneses this Saturday. So if you guys are who are watching now like what we're doing and you follow Riker Moving the Chains and Charlie with Dallas Cowboys Uncensored, be sure to tune in to Keeping Up with the Joneses this Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be talking some Cowboys football, among other things. It's always a very entertaining show. Make sure you go follow Dallas Cowboys Uncensored as well. And just keep supporting the Cowboys Nation. All right, so I see we got a bunch of overs on that too. Milton says Diggs is nursing a sore ankle. That doesn't concern me much. I think he's pretty much earned some veteran leave now. So he can sit out a practice or two and still come back and play. Okay, so I see everybody's saying over. Jack Mika said the linebackers are balling. Milton says Randy Gregory would detach the quarterback from the ball. Jeff says at least 3. It's going to be interesting to see. The last over-under question, the first one was, does Trayvon Diggs get a turnover? The second one was, does the defense get more than 1? So the over-under was 1.5. Mendoza says interception and fumble recovery. All right, so we talked about all the offensive linemen missing and all of our guys playing well. Last week, the Patriots did not give up a sack, and the Cowboys did not get a sack. So this week, over under 2 sacks for our defense. Over under 2 sacks. I hate to sound like a homer on this one. I'm leaning over on it. I mean, I've seen our offense, our defense in spurts take advantage of bad offensive line play from backups. See the Chargers game, see the Eagles game. This week they got 4 backups, not just 1, 4. So there are gonna be some advantages, Cowboys across that line, especially once we start bringing guys. If we get them in obvious passing downs and we start to get that NASCAR package in, I could definitely see us getting 3 sacks this week. Franco Geekin says, I hope it's not bad weather during the game. I haven't checked the weather forecast. Let me check real quick. All right, we got a bunch of we got overs and unders. Eric says over on turnovers. Eric has 5 sacks for the Cowboys defense this week. And actually, I think this is the week a guy in our secondary gets a sack too. So I'm looking for a Jordan Lewis or Jaron Curse to come with some pressure as well. Because like I said, their receivers aren't that big of a threat. So I think you can kind of take some chances with our secondary blitzing. And trying to keep their tight ends in more. Mendoza says Gregory Osa and at least one of them has 2 sacks. That would be a great game. So I just checked the weather forecast, whoever put that up there. The weather forecast right now shows mostly clear with the low around 47, 7 miles an hour wind. So it should be a pretty good game. And I'm right there with you, Eric. They don't have a lot of weapons to worry about other than their tight ends. And if their tight ends run out on a route, just bring the heat where they came from. And let that tackle try to pick it up wide. Mendoza going to bold predictions early. Since he's already doing that, we can hit that up in a few minutes. All right, guys. So talking about this defense, we're talking about linebacker in particular. So we got Jabril Cox. Jalen's now gone. Jabril Cox in the first 4 games played 4 snaps. In last week's game alone, he played 4 snaps. Doesn't sound like a lot, but as deep as this linebacker room and defense is, that's pretty good. So this week, Jabril Cox over under 10 snaps in the game. Over under 10 snaps of defense for Jabril Cox. That'll put him about 15% of the snaps. So, guys, over under Jabril Cox, 10 offensive snaps. Let me know what you think. Parsons might have 3 if they listen to you. This is one of those games you definitely want to use your chess piece for. Yeah, we should have a nice day. You're right. All right, Nathaniel Johnson says over. Thank you for joining, Nathaniel. I'm only counting defensive snaps, Milton. I know he's been turning into one of our special teams aces, but my question is defensive snaps only. Does he play more than 10 snaps? And my answer is probably under because of this reason that you gave. Because he's pushing 60% special team snaps, him and Gifford both. And with Neal playing, this game could work to his benefit, being a very good cover linebacker. But we got guys like Neal, we got Curse, and we got a big rotation of defensive ends. I think his snaps may get lost in there. So Jack Meeker gives him over. Jeff gives him about 20 snaps, which will put him at about a third of the snaps. So that would be a pretty big leap for him. And Eric Berger says, I'm sending Parsons a ton so I can see linebackers win it in coverage most of the time. Eric Berger says Neal should not be in on third downs. So, Eric, I'm assuming you want Cox to be our third down nickel linebacker then. Mendoza saying push, talking about the red zone in particular. By the way, that was a great play he made on Daniel Jones. Going back and looking at that play, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon to meet Daniel Jones. If that was any other linebacker other than him or Parsons, that would have been a walk-in touchdown for Daniel Jones. So that definitely gave us a glimpse of the type of player we got and the type of athleticism that he has. Milton saying defensive snaps, goal line, a couple of packages. Over for Cox, but around 10. Yeah, I try to make my over-unders pretty realistic so that it's not as easy as you think. Yeah. So his Cox take hasn't changed since this offseason. I'm glad Riker and Charlie aren't here right now. I probably said Cox like 15 times. And Mendoza, great point. If we play defense like I think, how much can we expect them to be in the red zone, keep them behind the chains? I'm going to be very interested to see how the Patriots move the ball against us this week. I think the only shot they have again in the red zone is forcing turnovers. I don't think their offense can move the ball down the field on us. And I'm usually the person that's even keeled, borderline glass half full on stuff like this. And watching the Patriots play every week, outside of that game against Tampa Bay where they were playing for something, they've looked pretty bad offensively. Jeff says Jalen would have made that play too. If he wouldn't have been on the bootleg, on the fake, he would have made the play. But I'm not sure he wouldn't have. Yeah, I thought Jones had it easily at first. All right, guys. So let's move on to our offensive side of the ball. I talked about this early on in the show. Ken Joyner, I am on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Bluff City Cowboys also. This show also streams live to Twitter. So if you can't find us on YouTube, you can always go to my Twitter page and watch the show as well. Watch the replay there as well also. And make sure you subscribe, Ken Joyner, wherever you're watching from. I'm Bluff City Cowboys. My co-host Lambo is Cowboys, y'all. And Milton, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. I know by the time we come on, there's probably 50,000 Cowboy shows that come on. So we try to do things a little bit differently. We try to keep it to real game stuff, and we try to keep it as interactive as possible. I don't want to sit here like I'm the football god and just talk at people for an hour because, to be honest, the guys who are putting the comments up here know just as much, if not more, about this team than I do. So we're all about having a conversation with the audience than preaching at the audience and trying to build fan bases and campaigns for certain players and stuff like that. We try to keep it as realistic as possible and get you guys input. All right, guys. So let's go back to over-unders. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. We're at 1 hour, 30 minutes. I don't want to hold you guys much longer. So we'll make these quick. Going to the tight end position. Last week, and thank you, Mendoza. I really appreciate that, man. We try our best to give you guys what you want and keep you guys engaged. And I wish my voice didn't sound like this. The sinus drain is killing me right now. So, offensive side of the ball, at the tight end position, last week, Dalton Schultz was the only tight end to get a stat. And looking at the stats, I believe Schultz is our leading receiver in receptions and second in yardage. So the two over-unders are related to the tight end position. Blake Jarwin played, I believe, 30% of the snaps and did not get a stat. Over under Blake Jarwin, 2 catches. Blake Jarwin, 2 catches this week, over under. I think we're gonna see a lot of blitzing from the Patriots. So that always works in the favor of the tight ends because they're usually the ones that they get open on hot reads. But they play a lot of man, so our receivers should have some advantages there as well. I think we're going to play a lot of too tight because of that reason. So Jarman's going to be on the field a lot more than he was last week, I think. So I see Jack Meeker has us with under. Andre has over. Jack saying, yeah, he trusts Dalton Schultz too much. Eric has him at under. It's going to be another big wide receiver game. Mendoza has him slightly over at 3. Now, this one kind of gets me too, because I could go either way on this one. I agree with Eric. I think because they play so much man, we're gonna screen and slant and come back the hell out of these cornerbacks and just take what they give us. But at the same time, I think we're gonna use our 12 personnel to keep these linebackers off balanced because they play with so many. So I can see Schultz and Jarvan on the field together a lot more. But if I'm looking at Jamie Collins or how'd I just forget his name, the linebacker from Alabama, if I see those guys trying to cover tight ends, I'm going to have to take my shots. So I'm with you, Mendoza. I'm going over, but slightly. All right, guys. So we talked about Jarvan. Let's talk about Schultz. I think this is going to be a good game for him. Over under 60 yards for Dalton Schultz this week. He's going to get a lot of one-on-one situations. Milton says 6 for 70 and 2 touchdowns. So he has Jarvan with 2, Schultz with 70. I'm leaning 70 as well. That's why I put the over-under kind of at 60. You say over also. Mendoza says 75. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Over under Dalton Schultz, 60 yards receiving this week. Yeah, he's averaged about 6 catches, 70 a game. So that's about his average. That's a good point right there, Eric. I didn't realize that. I didn't know Davis Mills' stats looked that good against the Patriots. I know it was a close game. I think it was 22-25, but I had no idea that Davis Mills was doing them like that. So if Mills did that, I may just have to eliminate all my over-unders because they're all going to be over. And the only receiver I know they have is Brandon Cooks. And I don't even think he had a good game this week. Jeff said over for Schultz. Ken Joyner going back to the defensive over under 3.5 sacks. All right, guys. So offensive receivers, because we got to talk about them. Like I said, like I keep saying, they play a lot of man. So over under our top receiver, whoever that may be, you can say who you want to say is going to be this week. Over under our top receiver, 100 yards. And this is the reason I say that question, Mendoza, because I also feel like this is going to be a game where they can spread it out. where you're gonna get one guy 6 catches, one guy 5 catches, one guy 5 catches. The running backs are gonna be involved. I think it's gonna be pretty spread out, but over under one of our receivers more than 100 yards. So Franco, I guess over. You say both receivers going to have over 100 yards. Eric says over. Jack Meeker says Coop. I mean, Coop versus the Green Goblin. I think I'm taking that over too. Eric Berger says you might have 2. Is Cedric Wilson one of those 2, Eric? Or are you going with our 2 outside guys? Milton says over for Lamb. Mendoza says over. Andre, the lone wolf out there with the under. I mean, I can see that too, the way they're going to spread the ball out. Yeah, I would love to see Cedric get some yards too. Cedric has kind of turned into our big play guy. He's been really big with these over the shoulder sideline catches. So a couple of those, and that could definitely be a good chance for us. Ken Joyner asked the question about Michael Gallup. Do we have any information on him? I don't right now. He was on IR. And they haven't taken, I think he's missed his 3 games. But they didn't take him off the list this week like they did with Boss Man Fat and Sean McKeon. So as of now, he's still on IR. So whenever they do take him off IR, they have 3 weeks to decide whether or not they want to bring him back. So his clock is still ticking. So you got at least 2 more weeks before there's a chance you see him. And I agree with this, Mendoza. Somebody's going to have the chunk plays. I think it might be Wilson with the chunk play in this one. And Jeff says the top receiver will be Wilson, but for fantasy purposes, you're hoping it's Coop. You know, I kind of get a vibe this might be a Wilson game too. That's why I said the top receiver. I think it's going to be over, and I think it's going to be Wilson. I think Wilson's going to have a 4 or 5 catch game. I think one of them's going to be a big catch, and then the other 2 are going to be some move the chain 10 to 12 yard catches. And thank you, Milton. He's going to be off the list by the bye week, according to Nick Eatman, which is pretty much what I'm expecting. They'll take him off, give him a week or 2 to practice, and then have him ready for the next game. Eric says Gallup might have 100 yards sitting on the IR. And yeah, you're right about that, Mendoza. They played a CD on against the corner for the Giants. That did look like a typical Gallup play. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much it with over-under. Jack Meeker says Noah Brown's been looking pretty good. He's been playing more snaps, but he's pretty much what he is. He's a number 4 receiver on the team. He's going to give you 20 catches a year. Cedric Wilson's starting to look more like a legit number 3 guy. So it's going to be interesting what happens with him this offseason. So Milton has Lamb 100, Wilson, Schultz 70, Cooper 60, the running backs 50. Eric Berger asking about Pollard in the slot. You know, we've seen him play some slot lately. They've been doing a little bit of 21 personnel lately. I think if they put him in the slot, it's not going to be as a route runner, or it could be. I think if we see him in the slot, it's going to be more of a matchup thing to try to pull out one of those linebackers. They could use him to kind of make the field wider on a jet sweep, give him that. Or it could be some misdirection to pull the linebackers back. Or it could be to put them out wide to see if they line a linebacker up on them, just to get a guy out of the box, because I think they're going to be very blitz heavy this week. Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to see Noah out there as well. Very underrated guy. as much as I love Noah Brown, I'm gonna have to put it out there pretty early. I think this might be his last year. I've been pounding the table every year, telling people Noah Brown's not going anywhere. But the way this team is made up right now, this might be his last year. And we could talk about that as we move on into the season. Milton dropping the knowledge on us today, saying Dak Hennett, we may see Diggs on some special offensive calls this year. I mean, if he's getting as many turnovers as he is, you may have to reward him. And I could see why they would do that, because it's hard for cornerbacks to get defensive player of the year. It's usually a sack position, defensive end pass rusher. So if you want to have a guy get defensive player of the year, sometimes you may have to put some offensive snaps out there to make people a little bit more aware of them, kind of like what they did with J.J. Watt a couple years ago when he kept getting snubbed. So yeah, Jack Meeker says he may get the Dion treatment. So I mean, he's been playing well. He's earned it. Whatever treatment he gets. All right, guys. So real quick, I'm gonna go through my keys to victory, and then I'm gonna get you guys game predictions, and then we'll get out of here. So let me hit you guys with some of my keys to victory.
Keys to victory.
Now, I know my guy Milton put his keys to victories up earlier in the show. I'm just going to hit you guys with a couple of my keys. First of all, looking at last week's game, I noticed that they were teaching their linemen to get their hands up because they kind of realized how we've been doing offensively, getting the ball out quick to our open guys. I'm kind of looking for the Patriots to catch on to that. So we may see a lot more tip passes, because last week there should have been 2 turnovers from tips. Luckily, one guy didn't catch it, the other guy, but neither guy caught it, but they had the chance to. So first key to victory is just making sure we take care of the ball. Make sure we don't have any errant passes like we did last week when it got tipped. Make sure we don't have any bad snaps that the quarterback can't get his hands on. Actually, that one fumble wasn't a bad snap. Dak just missed it. It hit him in the hands and something happened. He just overlooked it. So we have to take care of the ball. On the defensive side, we have to minimize confusion with the tight ends, because that's the only advantage they have. If we take their tight ends out of the game, it's going to be a long day for the Patriots. And also, we got to get the quarterback on the ground. Their quarterback, still a rookie. He hasn't really had his growing pains yet. This is the one game where I think we can rattle him and get in his head and just take him out completely in the game. So yeah. And Jeff, great one. Don't play down to your competition. This is still the Patriots. Bill Belichick is still on that other sideline. He's still one of the greatest coaching minds of our generation. Just because the team isn't talented, this is the game where he proves coaching is the difference. So we can't take them lightly, even though we have the better team on paper and in real life. But yeah, we got to take care of the ball. We got to get to the quarterback. We got to shut down those tight ends. And Milton says Dak learns quick. Won't have tip passes 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, he did shoot it like a rocket on Pollard's fumble. I guess that was a sign that he wasn't blocking anybody too. So you could take that several ways. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I think we're going to see a lot of blitzing and a lot of guys getting their hands up. Mendoza says down the middle defense, which is defensive tackle, linebacker, safeties. That should be the strength of any defense. And we got some very talented guys there. O-line play, again, I think they're going to do a lot of blitzing with their linebackers. I think we're going to see a lot of shifting in their front seven from 4-3 to 3-4 to 2-5 even. They're going to use their linebackers and try to get them in mismatches as much as possible. And ball security. We've had a couple of turnovers. It knock on wood, it looks like the fumble lighters may have gone away a little bit. But again, you're dealing with a team with veteran linebackers. They know how to punch the ball out. They know how to create turnovers. So we have to make sure we take care of the football. Eric Berger says the gas pedal's on the right. Just sit on it for 4 quarters. I'm with you. Try to run them off the field early at their home. We are going to New England, so we can't let the crowd get into it. Again, they're still the Patriots. Crazy things can still happen. So we can't take this game too lightly. We got to do what we got to do. And Mendoza, great stats. Haven't won in New England since 87. Haven't beaten New England since 96. Another one of those notches we gotta knock out real quick. Yeah, we do want to see Rush play, but for the right reasons. So let's get on them early and stay on them. Dwayne Wright, thank you for joining. We're about to end the show, but I appreciate you tuning in. Wherever you're watching that, make sure you subscribe. I'm Bluff City Cowboys. My co-host is Lambo with Cowboys, y'all. All right, and Mendoza, ball security and efficiency. Always 2 good go-tos for any game. Eric says, pass pro and don't say shit in the locker room, okay? And Ken Joyner says he's watching from Connecticut. So you're a Cowboys fan in Patriots country. You should have a very fun time at work on Monday. I'll say that. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. So before I go, we like to do game predictions. So, guys, give me your predictions of scores for this game. And I was speaking with the Lunatic, and he's partnering with us and Dallas Cowboys Uncensored. So if somebody gets the correct score, we will be able to give out some prizes that are sponsored by the Lunatic. So the Lunatic, I know you left early, but shouts out to you. Thank you for your support of the Cowboy Zone. And we look forward to this partnership. So now let's go to our game predictions and we'll get out of here.
Game prediction.
All right. So as you guys put your game predictions in the comments, I'll give you mine really quick. I hate to seem too optimistic, but looking at this game, I just don't see how they can stop us. And I don't see how they can score on us. I'm looking at this offense easily getting 4 touchdowns and a couple of field goals. So that'll put us at 37. And even in a blowout game, I still don't see how they can score on us. So I'm going to go 37-20 Dallas. All right, guys. So I'm making note of all you guys' scores. So I may be looking down quite a bit. I see we got a lot of 30 scores. And I was just about to say, is anybody going to give us a 40 burger? And then I look at Eric Berger with the score of 49-17. $34-10. All right, Dwayne, 45-17. All right, so it looks like so far me and Jack are the only ones that give them 20 points. So it sounds like you guys are gonna put this one away early, huh? Yeah, Milton and Ken say they both like your score, Eric. Man, who are you telling Mendoza? If we score that much, that'd be a real good day of football. Milton says the year of the Cowboys. All right, guys. I see the score. I see the scores are pretty much slowed down. So I guess that's pretty much it. Does anybody know the free agency deadline? I mean the trade deadline off top of their heads. This may be something for next week if it's coming up. If not, I was going to ask a quick question. Oh, it's not till November 2nd. So we'll hold it. We'll hold it for another week. We'll start talking trades. But on the Cowboys Zone, we don't talk the unrealistic trades. We're going to talk realistic trades and who we think we can get and who we think we can trade away. And I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I've been watching the viewers, and it's been pretty steady for an hour and 50 minutes. So, guys, everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for your continued support. We're just a couple of guys from Tennessee that like talking Cowboys, and we are glad that you guys will take an hour or so out of your week to join us and talk Cowboys with us. So, if you get a chance, be sure to find me on social media. I'm Bluff City Cowboys on Facebook, Bluff City Cowboys on YouTube and Instagram, and Bluff Cowboys on Twitter. And be sure to catch us this Saturday on Keeping Up with the Joneses. That is a podcast between the Cowboy Zone and Dallas Cowboys Uncensored, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And also, you can find us every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Standard Time on the Cowboy Zone. My schedule has been super crazy. I'm gonna try to do a pregame show this week, but I'm not certain I'll be able to. But after this week, we will go back to doing our pregame shows on Sundays at 11:15 Central Standard Time. If I can't get in on Sunday, I may try to sneak in bold predictions Saturday night on Keeping Up with the Joneses if they'll allow me to. So guys, make sure you tune in for that. And I see we got a couple guys putting their bold predictions in already. So make sure you guys, if you get a chance, tune in to Keeping Up with the Joneses on Saturday night and give us your bold predictions there. If not, I'll try my best to come in on Sunday. As always, thank you guys for watching. Once again, I always appreciate you guys' support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. I'm Marcus, and I am out. You guys have a good week.